Hello, and welcome to the Zero Carbon Schools CPD Delivery Training session. Well, this isn't actually the session. We actually forgot to record the introductory bit of the session, so I'm just re-recording this section, and we're going to add that to the main part of the session that was delivered last week. For anybody who would find the session useful but wasn't able to attend. So Green Schools Project has been working with schools to help them respond to the climate crisis since 2015. In the early years, we really found that a consistent barrier was while there were one or potentially one or two enthusiastic teachers at the schools, getting across to all staff and all teachers to get them on board to take actions to tackle climate change and to include climate education within the curriculum, what was a challenge. Generally, climate change or environmental CPD sessions were directed at that one teacher who might be the sustainability or eco lead. But then they would kind of go to the training, come with lots of ideas, but then go back to their staff and still face the same, back to the school and face the same challenges. So when we're designing zero carbon schools, we thought it was really important to put some teacher training that was designed to be delivered to all teachers or even better, all staff at the school. Um, so to give staff the opportunity to kind of feed in ideas, take ownership, and really kind of learn about how they can include this into their practice and into school life. So since the start of the program, two teacher training sessions have been incorporated in the program. And while we would love to visit all the schools on the program to deliver these training sessions ourselves to help you guys out, obviously we can't do that when as the program grows and we're approaching 200 schools on the program now. So to keep costs down, what we've done is we've designed the materials. There's a PowerPoint presentation and kind of an in-depth delivery guide, which is it's not quite a script, but it's got very detailed instructions, which you can download from our website in our teacher training resources section. Um, and while we do visit some schools, when we find a bit of additional funding, to do so. In the most cases, it's the school coordinator or the SLT link for our program that will be delivering that session to their staff. Presumably, if you're watching this, that will be you. So this training session which follows is really designed to help you deliver that confidently and effectively. There were some breakout rooms to kind of discuss barriers, challenges, and opportunities, but we're just going to send you the recording of this introduction and the bit where we go through the two CPD sessions and the slides and give some tips and helpful tips and pointers. Um, when delivering the CPD sessions, we generally get very positive feedback from teachers. Um, for a lot of them, it's the first time that they've received training around climate education and climate action. One particular feedback which we email that we got, which we thought was particularly nice, was from a teacher who said, I've just completed my first CPD session tonight. I wasn't sure how staff would take it and whether they would engage. It was a great success, and I even had a round of applause at the end. Staff shared how valuable they found it and how much they had learned. So if it's the first CPD session that you're delivering, hopefully you'll kind of find that it's a good one and it goes down well. Or if you're a bit nervous about the fact that the school hasn't done any climate education CPD previously, we've done this in lots and lots of schools, and we get an overwhelmingly positive response to the session. Many studies have shown that teachers actually want more of this, and that's what we experience. They want a bit more time to be able to just kind of discuss these issues, come together, and come up with ideas of how to incorporate it. So while there's some information and facts and figures and in the sessions, the biggest outcome for it is just getting people together, talking about it, and seeing how they can include it into their school in each school's specific context. And one last point to note is that quite often from schools we get questions saying that we've run both sessions previously? Do we have to do both of them? While we encourage, I think it's very important for schools who are new to the program to deliver both of the two CPD sessions separately. They're quite distinct. One is about kind of taking climate action and reducing the school's carbon footprint, supporting pupils with their projects. The other one is about kind of teaching and learning and how to incorporate climate education into lessons. So I think it's really important to do both the first time around. And I think it's good if you can schedule both of them each year. I think there's a good value in that. If you've done both, if the program for a couple, a 1, 2, 3, or even more years, and you've done both of the CPD sessions separately, and you just want one session to kind of check in with staff to check in on progress on carbon footprint reduction, and also how whether sustainability and climate change has been incorporated more into lessons, then we have for this year for the first time done a joint CPD session, which again you'll be able to see on the website. But as I say, that's more for schools who have done both of the CPD sessions separately previously. Um, and yeah, just I think final thing just to mention is there's obviously the curriculum and assessment review came out last week. There's one little section in the second CPD session which says we were just kind of finalising it and finishing it before the review came out. It says this will be updated after the curriculum and assessment review comes out. We haven't had a chance to do that yet, but we'll hopefully do that in the next few weeks based on our response for it. But essentially, there's not going to be any changes happening this year. Initial reaction is that it's a step in the right direction, so that there will be more climate and sustainability education coming in the new curriculum. So yeah, doing this will ensure that you're kind of ahead of the game with that, and we'll add more detail as we have a bit more time to kind of digest and see what the direction is with that. So that's it for the introduction. I hope, yeah, the rest of the session is useful for you to watch. Thanks. Great. Okay. So I'm going to just quickly share my screen to explain what we're going to do for this session. So hopefully you can see that. So we've done the first bit, which is just give a bit of background and rationale for the sessions. Then I'm just going to talk through each of the sessions. Not going to go into too much detail, but just go through highlighting the key points, providing any kind of hints or tips for delivery for both of the two sessions. And then in the second half of this session, there'll be an opportunity for a breakout room, so you can talk to people in small groups. Maybe some people have delivered these sessions already, so they can provide tips, or if none of you have, you can just kind of share ideas of how to approach this. And then there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end. Just to briefly put it into the context of the whole program, if you're new to the program or just started, hopefully with the pupil sessions this week, the main aspect of the program is the pupil sessions that take place throughout the year. Then there are these two staff CPD sessions. We think it's really important. Our sort of key audiences are the schools, which include the teachers, the pupils, and also the school community. So it's important that we engage all of these communities. It also includes an estimate of your school's carbon footprint, which we'll be getting in touch with in a few weeks. We're going to be opening the carbon footprint tool, and in January, hoping that you can provide us some data to work out that estimate. And there's the community involvement, which can take place throughout the year, but normally focuses sort of later in the school year. 135 schools ran the program from start to finish last year. This year, 168 schools have signed up so far. We've still got places for some others and some possible funding opportunities. So that number could increase before the final cutoff in January. So right, I'm going to switch my share now and just dive into the first CPD session. So I hope it's not going to swap over. Stop sharing that one. Oops. Okay, so hopefully you've got this. I mean, you can just watch our screen as we go through this. Equally, if you've got the actual PowerPoint for the first CPD session to hand as well, you can be scrolling through that and just kind of jotting down any key ideas. For both of the CPD sessions, we have a PowerPoint and we have a delivery guide, which is a Word document. The Word document, I mean, it's quite detailed, so that's quite a long document. But we think, it's better to provide more information than too little. But really important to stress that um, these are once you've downloaded these are entirely yours to do whatever you would like with them. Um, you can deliver them exactly as we intend with the notes and so on. Equally, you can cut bits out, you can add bits in, depending on what your school priorities are or what initiatives you've been running. You can add in more kind of background information, or you can cut bits out if you think the staff know lots about climate change and so on already. So absolutely, please do feel free to edit and adapt for your situation. We've tried to plan them as best we can for sort of the average school, but we know that there is no average school. Yeah, please feel free to kind of um, do whatever you want with them and deliver them in the way that is most appropriate for you. Um, so this is the first one. We call it climate reality and response. We've got the session outcomes there. Um, Whenever you deliver this, it's a chance to let kind of teachers know about Zero Carbon Schools program and provide the context. So it just explains this slide just explains a bit about the program. Um, we like to start with a discussion. We think it's really important that the climate and nature crisis can sort of provoke strong feelings. And quite often these feelings are kind of go unacknowledged a lot of the time. Um, and we think it's important that staff kind of connect with those feelings, particularly because if we have strong feelings about it, the children that you're teaching this to, whatever their age, are likely to kind of have feelings about this too. They may talk to you about these things, so it's important to kind of acknowledge them ourselves. So what do we think about it? How do we feel about it? But also, it's really important that this program is not doom and gloom. It's positive and it's upbeat. Sometimes these things can feel quite heavy, and there's probably more bad news than good news generally. But it's important that we focus on the positives as well, to encourage people to sort of come on board and take action. So there's a little discussion there with a few prompts for staff there. And then this section is really about kind of the developments over the past 12 months of the climate and nature crisis. This is updated each year, so if you did the session last year or have done it previously, then there's a bit kind of similar to previous years, but mostly it's new stuff. So again, if this is the first time you're delivering it, there's a bit of background to why is climate change happening. We encourage when we deliver this, we talk about how we introduce it to pupils when thinking about kind of an inflatable Earth, an inflatable sun, and a blanket around the planet is a nice image. I remember seeing the head scientist at NASA describe it that way. So I thought if it was good enough for him, then it's good enough for us. And there's just a bit of information about the sources of carbon emissions. Where are we now in terms of parts per million, which is sadly going up every year, as is the temperature. So again, just sort of background facts and stats and a few charts. Climate scientists' opinion on where we're heading, and just a few sort of key events of the past year globally, including, yeah, just recently, Hurricane Melissa, which sort of devastated the Caribbean recently. Um, but also we've added a slide this year about the climate impact of education, which is increasingly having an impact with climate related events leading to lost learning in countries around the world. Some impacts in the UK, information about wildlife and wildlife loss, with some kind of statistics there, and just highlighting a few potential tipping points, which could be approaching. Again, there's notes on all of this in the delivery guide. Um, Very important to us is the aspect of climate justice as well. So where kind of, yeah, the intersection between social justice and climate change, where people of color are affected more than most countries in the global south, are affected more than those in the global north. So kind of the inequalities that are brought up by this is worth highlighting and discussing as well. And that's, yeah, there's another chart that shows the countries that are most affected by the climate crisis. Um, but as I said, it's important not to just focus on the challenging situation. There's also lots of great work and positive things that are happening around the world. There's a few like photos of them there. The details of this are all in the guidance notes. And yeah, as made clear by the quote, the economics of renewable energy are massively moving in their favour there. So there's an opportunity for potentially very rapid changes happening in the coming years. We wanted to highlight kind of action at a national level as well. France has seen some really positive developments, particularly in Paris. Again, all information is in the notes, and action at the community level. And this is where we see the schools fitting in, taking action on climate change as a community. And we want to encourage the school to do things, but also to spread that into the local community through parents and families as well. And then that's kind of the background. And then there's a bit of information about how you can address this as a school. We link it to the four areas of the carbon footprint that we look at through the pupil sessions, which is energy, food, purchasing, and travel, which covers the vast majority of the school's carbon footprint. There are some ideas there on the slide. You can put those up. Equally, you can just get staff to kind of come up with their own, or you can kind of choose bits and pieces from there. This year, kind of new to the program, we've got a new climate action plan template. The Department for Education are encouraging all schools to have a climate action plan by the end of the year. Hopefully some of you will have them already. They might be a work in progress, but yeah, we've got a template there, which is actually we kind of pre-populated with possible actions, so you can kind of just delete out the ones that you are a lower priority or you don't want to do, which is, yeah, sometimes more helpful than actually having to kind of fill something in yourself. Also, just to note on this, we've got a session with Let's Go Zero, who they have climate action advisors around the country, kind of working with schools on this. So that's why we've aligned with them on this, and they're running a session on climate action planning next week on Tuesday. The support session's coming thick and fast, so don't feel like you don't feel obliged to come to it if it's too much. We'll record that session, but if you want some a bit of in-depth support on climate action planning and how to use this template, yeah, there's our support session next Tuesday. And then it's a chance to give the staff some time to actually make some kind of work together, do some brainstorming, thinking about what the school is already doing, but also what it can do better. And coming up with ideas that they can all get on board with. And that's the kind of main task for the session. So yeah, give them plenty of time, sort of 10 to 15 minutes or so to come up with those ideas, and then a bit of time to feedback to everyone and share ideas. And then the first session finishes with a section on how to discuss climate change with children and young people. Um, there's a little stat about eco-anxiety amongst young people, and then there's a really nice video, which is an animated video. There's a child psychologist called Caroline Hickman, who works with children specifically around climate anxiety sometimes. And she gives a really good explanation of kind of like of how it's best to approach the subject of climate change with children and young people. We've got a few little scenarios. Those quotes there are just kind of the things that we've come across. Feel free to change those if you've got any specific quotes that or things that children have said to you. Then add them in. And then we've got some guidance on kind of ways to respond in order to support children and young people with any eco anxiety that they're displaying. The key thing is just to make sure you're validating your feelings. You're kind of you can meet them on a level and say that you're quite worried about this too, but also focusing on the positive things and looking at solutions, reframing it as a positive response to the situation that we're facing. And that's it. And then there's a little feedback. We really appreciate it. We obviously, when we go and deliver to schools, we ask for feedback on the session, but it's really helpful for us to get feedback when it's not us in the room delivering the session as well, so that we can see kind of how it's gone down when it's delivered by you guys as well. So that is the first session. I hope you found that useful to go through. And then I'm just going to whiz through the second session as well. And then I'll give you an opportunity to discuss and ask any questions. If questions occur to you as you go through, please feel free to put them in the chat as well, and we will pick up on them later on. So hopefully this should be CPD 2. Yes, the second session. So the second session is, while the first one was more around kind of actions, carbon emissions, projects, things that schools can do to reduce their carbon footprint, and supporting pupil projects on the programme. The second one is really about how we can bring climate and sustainability into lessons across the school. I guess an important note of context for this is the publication of the curriculum and assessment review yesterday. There's a sort of a paragraph in the guidance notes to say this will be updated when the curriculum and assessment review was published. It was published yesterday, and I was looking after our 1-year-old and kind of frantically preparing things for today, so I haven't really had a chance to kind of digest it all. We haven't had a chance to discuss it as a team, about kind of what our take on all of that is. But that will be updated in the next couple of weeks, and we'll let you know about that. But it doesn't really, it's not going to affect what gets delivered this year anyway. And I feel like, on first impressions, it will have an impact, but probably from the following academic year anyway. So the session outcomes for this one is kind of just sort of exploring how to bring climate change and sustainability into all subject areas, looking at government research, and then giving teachers the opportunity to start doing a bit of planning on either individual lessons, a series of lessons, or cross-curricular projects. Again, just a reminder of the context. If you do these sessions kind of close together, you can skip out this bit. But if you do one kind of this term and one in the summer term, then it's useful as just a reminder. Here, there's a space for your school's carbon footprint. If you're new to the programme, that will happen we'll get that back to you based on the information that you submit to us in around February. So if it's before February, you can just delete this slide. If it's after February, then you can actually paste your carbon footprint poster onto that slide to give context to everybody. When the pupils, so when after you get your carbon footprint, in the pupil sessions, they then go away and kind of work in groups to try to run projects to reduce the school's carbon footprint. If you know what they are and you have some details of those, you can pop those on this slide, just so that you can highlight that to the staff, and kind of, that could be a way of encouraging staff to support the projects that the pupils are doing. Again, a little discussion to start off. This time it's about different policies that could be put in place to encourage climate education, just as a bit of an idea starter on kind of what do you think is the more important, less important, and what's relevant to your school context. So just a chance to get teachers talking about this. And then there's the research. Every year it seems there's kind of more studies that come out. So we've tried to just kind of synthesize the main findings of some research on what educators think, what children and young people think, importantly, and there's lots of kind of research being done, and surveys of young people who are calling to kind of learn more about this, and I feel like that has been reflected in the curriculum and assessment review. Whether that's kind of enough is another question. So yeah, that's that bit, and also just to highlight the government guidance and national initiatives. In 2022, I think it was, the Department for Education released a sustainability and climate change strategy, and these are the initiatives that have kind of come out of it and that are funded by the government. Climate ambassadors, the National Education Nature Park, sustainability support for education, and it's all kind of, Let's Go Zero is a big campaign that kind of works alongside the DfE to encourage schools to take up some of those offers and work with them to develop climate action plans. As I said, there's a bit of information about the curriculum and assessment review. We will update that one in the next couple of weeks. If you're delivering it now, you can just talk about it in general terms. We've also got a petition which we're hoping to deliver to the Department for Education. We've been kind of rebuffed by ministers so far, but possibly that was to do with the fact that the review was due to come out soon. But we ran a petition. Bethany ran it with the school that she was delivering to last year, and we got 20,000 signatures from a petition that children wrote about encouraging more climate education in the curriculum. We've got a link to it, so if you want to share that with your staff and get some more signatures, hopefully we'll be able to kind of visit and deliver that, because there's always more opportunity to do more. Within the existing curriculum, we do feel that there is kind of enough scope and flexibility to cover climate change and sustainability in all subject areas. So we're focusing on that, and we wait to see what the new curriculum will look like. Broadly, we think that there's two approaches that you can take. Either taking a cross-curricular approach, and using an inquiry question to explore a topic across different subject areas. Much easier to do in primary, when there's the same teacher delivering kind of all the different subjects. Harder at secondary, but when we've delivered this session at secondary schools before and got teachers from different departments sitting next to each other on tables, it is a really nice opportunity for secondary schools to collaborate across different departments. A school that I visited a year or two ago said that they were going to kind of develop organize a trip with the art department and the English department jointly to do a project. So that some nice ideas can come from this. um, or just in individual subject areas. That's probably more straightforward, seeing where it can fit into different subject areas, and there's opportunities for all of them. When studies have shown that maths is and as a former secondary maths teacher, I recognise this, although it's sad to me. Maths is generally comes out as the one which has the least sustainability and climate education included in it, but there are lots of opportunities to include it into maths. There's some examples there to include it into English and drama, RE. Those are just three examples, but all subject areas have opportunities to bring this topic in, and we think that bringing it in it brings in a topic that young people care about, they're interested in, they want to find out more about, so it can make the learning kind of more meaningful in all subject areas. Um, in terms of like cross-curricular inquiry questions, there's I mean there's a million different ones that you could think of. There's just a few examples. The Ministry of Education, and we've got a link to that later on in the slides. They have lots more on their site as well. So what I would suggest you kind of take one inquiry question, and then you can kind of map out how it will relate to all the different subject areas. This is just an example put on the slides. I don't expect like to go into it in detail, but just that's the kind of thing that you could start exploring as a school with all your teachers together. Um, Also, there's just a bit of information about learning outdoors. We think that's really important. There are a few outdoor sessions as part of Zero Carbon Schools, taking children outside, kind of trying to instill or retain a love of kind of the outdoors and nature. I think is really key to this. And sadly, it's what is something that England ranks pretty badly on in terms of nature connection. So yeah, we're quite low on that compared to similar countries. And also there was some research done by the Teach the Future campaign, which showed that actually children who spent less time in nature were less inclined to want to learn about climate change, or think it's important for everybody to learn about climate change. So there has been some research to show that. So the more you can encourage them to take them outside and develop a love of not a love of nature, then the more inclined that they will be to kind of learn more about it. So we've got a few tips to get started. And just a bit of information about kind of actually it's not necessarily how long you spend in a natural space, and a natural space can literally be standing underneath a tree in a playground. It doesn't have to be going into like a big kind of forest or national park. um, so yeah, just a bit of information about that, and then there's the task for the session, which is either kind of working individually or in small groups on an individual lesson or a series of lessons, or it could be developing a cross-curricular project, or it can be just kind of looking at what's upcoming in your lessons, at your sequence of lessons in your curriculum, and thinking about how to kind of incorporate some element of climate and sustainability. We absolutely don't, not encouraging you to kind of tear everything up and start from scratch. We don't want to add to workload. But we do feel that if you start kind of dripping bits here and there throughout the curriculum for different year groups, then it starts that I think the pupils will start to have like a more joined up experience where they're seeing this as a sort of a common thread running throughout all lessons. So that's what we give a bit of time. Obviously, there's not loads of time to plan too much in a single session, but hopefully it gives them a chance to start talking about it and start to develop plans. And then there's just a few places to look for additional resources. Again, we've got links to all of these in the guidance notes, and we generally send these to schools after we've done them as well, and a feedback form. So that's it. So that was a bit of a whistle stop tour of both of the sessions. Um, we want to provide, yeah, just a bit of an opportunity to sort of digest that, talk to each other about yeah, about how you might implement these. I think Nell, are you okay to put people into breakout rooms? What we'd like you just to discuss in the breakout rooms is a couple of questions. Do you foresee any challenges with running the sessions, either with delivery or logistics? Do you have any ideas for adapting the sessions for your school? Um, and if you've done any CPD previously on climate education, or if you've run these sessions previously, do you have any successes to discuss as well? So